Captain Jiho sat in his command chair aboard the merchant ship Starbound Phoenix. Outside the windows, stars streaked past as they traveled through hyperspace. It was a routine trip, or at least it was supposed to be. They were carrying medical supplies to Colony Station Epsilon. Nothing exciting about that. Jiho had been a merchant captain for 6 years now. Before that, he served in the Earth Defense Force during the Mars Rebellion. Those days were behind him now. He preferred the quiet life of hauling cargo across the galaxy. Less shooting, more living. His crew was small, but good. Yuna worked in the engine room, keeping their old ship running despite its age. She could fix anything with enough time and spare parts. Tai Yang handled the weapons systems, though they rarely needed them. He was former military too, like Jiho. Hana managed communications, and Minho navigated their route through space. They were a family now after 3 years together. The ship shuddered slightly as they prepared to drop out of hyperspace. Minho called out from his station. "Coming up on the Verdun sector. Everything looks normal." Jiho nodded. The Verdun sector was known for being quiet. Not many planets, not much traffic. Just empty space between point A and point B. They would pass through and continue their journey. Then Hana's console lit up with alerts. She pressed her headset closer to her ear, her face going pale. "Captain, I'm picking up a distress signal. It's strong. Someone's broadcasting on all frequencies." "Put it through," Jiho said, sitting up straighter. The voice that came through the speakers was desperate and afraid. It belonged to someone from the Rylathi species, bird-like aliens known for being peaceful merchants and farmers. "This is the colony ship Hope's Wing. We are under attack by Vex marauders. 12,000 civilians on board. 4,000 are children. We cannot fight back. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help. Our coordinates are—" The message repeated, over and over. Hana's fingers flew across her console. "Captain, I'm reading 6 Vex warships at those coordinates. The colony ship is badly damaged. They're in the lawless zone outside Council patrol routes." Jiho felt his stomach tighten. The Vex marauders were pirates, the worst kind. They didn't just steal cargo. They took people, sold them as slaves to mining operations in the outer reaches. Whole families disappeared into the dark. Tai Yang turned in his seat. "Captain, we're a merchant vessel. We're not equipped for a fight against 6 warships." "I know what we are," Jiho said quietly. He looked at the navigation display. Colony Station Epsilon was 3 hours away. Safe, easy. The Rylathi ship was in the opposite direction, 20 minutes through hyperspace. Minho spoke up. "The Council handbook says merchant vessels should not engage hostile forces. We're supposed to report it and continue our route." Jiho knew the rules. He also knew what would happen if they just reported it. The Council would send someone to investigate. In a few days. Maybe a week. By then, those 12,000 Rylathi would be gone. The children would grow up in chains, if they grew up at all. He thought about his time in the Defense Force, the motto they lived by, "No one gets left behind." It didn't matter if they were human or alien, soldier or civilian. If someone needed help, you helped them. "Crew vote," Jiho said. It was how they made big decisions on the Phoenix. Everyone got a say. "We can continue to the station like we're supposed to, or we can respond to that distress call. But you need to know what that means. 6 Vex warships against us. We might not make it back." The bridge was quiet for a moment. Then Yuna's voice came through the intercom from the engine room. "I vote we go help them." Taeyang nodded. "I'm in. Can't just leave kids to those animals." Hana wiped her eyes. "Yes, we have to try." Minho was last. He stared at his console, then looked at Jiho. "My grandfather used to tell me stories about the old days on Earth. He said the measure of a person wasn't what they did when it was easy. It was what they did when it was hard. Let's go help those people." Jiho felt pride swell in his chest. This crew, this family, they understood. "Minho, set course for those coordinates. Yuna, I need everything you can give me from the engines. Taeyang, prep the weapon systems. Hana, send a coded message back to Earth Fleet Command. What should I say? Hana asked. Tell them we're going dark, situation hostile, and send them the Busan Protocol activation code. Hana's eyes went wide. Sir, that's only for... I know what it's for. Send it. The Busan Protocol was established after humanity's first contact war. It was simple. Any distress call from civilians anywhere in the galaxy triggered an immediate military response from the nearest Earth fleet. No discussion, no delay. The Council thought it was aggressive and unnecessary. Humans thought it was basic decency. The problem was, Earth's nearest fleet was days away. By the time they arrived, it would be over one way or another. The ship turned, its engines burning bright as they changed course. Jiho watched the stars shift on the view screen. He opened a private channel to Taeyang. How many missiles do we have? 42, plus the railgun batteries. Taeyang paused. It won't be enough, Captain. I know, but maybe we can buy time. Create a distraction. Something. The minutes ticked by as they rushed toward the Relathi ship. Jiho's mind raced through scenarios. 6 Vex warships. Each one was bigger and better armed than the Phoenix. In a straight fight, they would be destroyed in seconds, so they wouldn't fight straight. Yuna, Jiho called. Can you make our reactor signature bloom? Make us look bigger on their sensors? There was a pause. I can reroute power from non-essential systems. It would make us look like a battle cruiser instead of a merchant ship. For a while, anyway. Do it. Taeyang, remember those concealed weapon panels we installed last year? The ones you said were for just in case? Taeyang smiled. Yeah, I remember. Get them ready. When we drop out of hyperspace, I want to surprise someone. The Phoenix screamed through space, pushing its engines beyond normal limits. Alarms beeped as systems strained. Jiho ignored them. Those Relathi children didn't have time for caution. Hana counted down. 30 seconds to arrival, 20, 10. Jiho gripped his armrests. All hands, battle stations, here we go. The ship lurched as they dropped out of hyperspace, the view screen filled with chaos. The Relathi colony ship Hope's Wing was huge, built to carry thousands, but it was crippled, pieces of its hull torn away, atmosphere venting into space. Around it circled 6 Vex warships, dark and predatory. Hana's console beeped. Incoming transmission from the Vex, audio only. Put it through. A rough voice filled the bridge, speaking in broken common tongue. Primitive human garbage ship. You lost? This our prize. Leave now or die. Jiho didn't respond with words. He nodded to Hana, who broadcast on all frequencies with a message Yuna had prepared. Their reactor signature bloomed, making them look like a warship. This is the United Earth ship Phoenix. You have 30 seconds to stand down. The Vex commander laughed. Stupid humans, you die now. 2 Vex warships broke formation, accelerating toward the Phoenix. Jiho smiled coldly. Taeyang, show them what happens when you underestimate humans. With pleasure, Captain. The 2 Vex warships came at the Phoenix like wolves moving in for a kill. Their weapons charged, energy readings spiking on Hana's sensors. They thought this would be easy, just another scared merchant ship. They were wrong. Taeyang's fingers danced across his console. The Phoenix's outer hull panels suddenly dropped away, revealing hidden railgun batteries underneath. Most merchant ships in Council space were unarmed, but human ships that traveled through dangerous sectors learned to hide surprises. Firing, Taeyang said calmly. The railguns roared to life. They didn't use energy like Council weapons. They used solid metal projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. The galaxy had mostly abandoned kinetic weapons centuries ago. Energy weapons were cleaner, more elegant, powered by ship reactors. Humans still used bullets. Very, very fast bullets. The first Vex warship didn't even have time to react. One moment it was charging forward, weapons hot. The next moment, telephone pole-sized projectiles tore through its hull at a significant fraction of light speed. The ship didn't explode dramatically. It just came apart, pieces tumbling through space. The second Vex ship tried to turn, tried to evade. Too late. Taiyang had already calculated its trajectory. More railgun rounds found their target. Metal screamed through shields and armor like they weren't even there. 7 seconds after the engagement started, both Vex warships were debris fields. On the bridge of the remaining Vex command ship, Krell stared at his displays in disbelief. 2 of his ships gone. Just like that. By a merchant vessel. "What kind of weapons are those?" his second officer stammered. Krell's face twisted in rage. Humans. Always humans causing problems. They'd only been in the galaxy for 23 years, barely worth noticing. And now they dared to interfere with his raid? "All ships converge on that human scow," Krell snarled. "Destroy it! I want debris small enough to fit in my hand." The 4 remaining Vex warships turned as one, forming up. Their combined firepower could level a small city. One merchant ship wouldn't last a minute. On the Phoenix, alarm screamed. Hana's voice was tight with fear. "Captain, all 4 ships are targeting us. We can't take that kind of fire." Jiho watched the tactical display. 4 ships, closing fast. His railguns were powerful, but they needed time to recharge, time he didn't have. "Minho, plot a course, straight at them." Minho turned, his face pale. "Sir, that's—" "Do it," Yuna's voice crackled over the intercom. "Captain, if I push the engines any harder, we might blow the reactor." "Then push them harder anyway," Jiho said. He opened a ship-wide channel. "All crew, brace for combat. If this doesn't work, it's been an honor serving with you." The Phoenix's engines flared bright blue, burning beyond their safety limits. The ship accelerated, rushing straight toward the 4 Vex warships. It was insane. It was suicidal. Krell watched the human ship charging at him and laughed. "They're running straight at us, fools! All weapons, fire when in range." The 4 Vex ships powered their weapons. Energy crackled along their hulls. In seconds, they would unleash enough firepower to vaporize the Phoenix 10 times over. Then space itself began to tear. Hana's console went crazy with new readings. "Captain, multiple hyperspace windows opening, right on top of us!" The fabric of space ripped open in a dozen places at once. Massive ships emerged, their hulls painted in the blue and white of the Earth Defense Fleet. Dreadnoughts, cruisers, destroyers. Dozens of them, appearing in perfect formation. Jiho had never seen anything so beautiful in his life. At the center of the fleet, the dreadnought Incheon hung in space like a mountain. On its bridge, Admiral Sora stood with her hands clasped behind her back. She was young for an admiral, only 38, but she'd earned her rank in the bloodiest fighting humanity had seen since the Mars Rebellion. "Status report," she said quietly. Her tactical officer responded immediately. 4 Vex warships in attack formation. 1 human merchant vessel, the Starbound Phoenix. 1 Relathi colony ship, heavily damaged. Reading 12,000 life signs on the colony ship. The Phoenix? They engaged 2 Vex warships and destroyed them both. They're currently on a collision course with the remaining 4. Sora allowed herself a small smile. Merchant captains with military backgrounds. They always got themselves into interesting situations. "Open a channel to the Phoenix. Let them know they can stop being heroes now. We'll take it from here." She turned to her communications officer. "Broadcast to the Vex ships, all frequencies." The young officer nodded. "Channel open, Admiral." Sora's voice cut across space like a knife. "Vex vessels, this is Admiral Sora of the Earth Defense Fleet. Release the colony ship and surrender immediately. You have 10 seconds to comply." On his command ship, Krell stared at the fleet that had appeared from nowhere. Dozens of warships, all bearing down on his position. His sensors were going insane trying to count them all. But Krell hadn't survived 20 years of piracy by being stupid. He was arrogant, yes, but he knew numbers. He had 4 ships. The humans had. He stopped counting at 30. Still, his pride wouldn't let him back down. The galaxy knew him, feared him. If he ran from humans, he'd be a joke. And the Vex marauders didn't become the most feared pirates in the sector by running. "All ships engage," Krell ordered. Sora watched the Vex ships open fire on her fleet. She sighed. They always choose the hard way. All ships, weapons free, destroy them. What happened next would be talked about in military academies for decades. The Earth Defense Fleet didn't just fight, they demonstrated the difference between pirates and soldiers, between luck and training, between people who took what they wanted and people who protected what mattered. Fighter squadrons screamed out of the carrier bays. They were led by squadron leader Doyen, a pilot who had logged more combat hours than most people lived. His ships moved in ways that made Vex targeting computers give up. Humans could handle G-forces that would turn most species into paste. Their fighters twisted and spun, never where the enemy expected. The destroyers employed what Earth military called swarm tactics. Each ship launched thousands of small missiles, overwhelming the Vex point defense systems. It was like trying to swat 1,000 mosquitoes at once. Impossible. The cruisers revealed another human surprise: electromagnetic pulse weapons. Energy blasts that didn't destroy ships, they just made all their systems stop working. Vex warships suddenly went dark, floating dead in space, and the dreadnoughts showed the galaxy why humanity spent so much on military development. The Incheon's main guns rotated, tracking the Vex command ship. These weren't energy weapons. They were mass drivers, cannons that launched solid projectiles using magnetic acceleration. The rounds were the size of telephone poles and moved at 30% of light speed. When the first round hit Krell's ship, it punched through the forward shields like they were paper. It continued through 3 decks, the bridge, the reactor core, and out the other side. The ship didn't explode. It just stopped being a ship and became a cloud of expanding debris. The entire engagement lasted 4 minutes and 17 seconds. When it was over, 4 Vex warships were gone. The colony ship Hope's Wing was secured. Not a single civilian had died. The Earth Defense Fleet formed a protective sphere around the damaged vessel. On the Phoenix, Jiho watched in awe. Hana was crying quietly at her station. Taiyang just kept saying "wow" over and over. Minho had pulled up the tactical recordings and was replaying them, unable to believe what he was seeing. Yuna's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, I'm reading a communication request from the Incheon. The Admiral wants to talk to you." Jiho straightened his uniform and accepted the call. Admiral Sora's face appeared on his screen. She looked tired but satisfied. "Captain Jiho," she said, "that was either very brave or very stupid." "Probably both, Admiral," Jiho admitted. "The Busan Protocol worked as designed. When we got your signal, we were 4 days away. We pushed our engines and made it in 6 hours. She paused. "You bought those people time. Without you, we would have arrived to an empty ship and a slave convoy halfway to the outer reaches." "We just did what anyone would do," Jiho said. Sora's expression softened. "No. You did what humans do. The galaxy is going to learn that lesson today." Medical ships arrived within the hour. They came from the Earth Fleet, painted white with red crosses, staffed by doctors and nurses who'd trained for exactly this kind of emergency. Admiral Sora had ordered them to jump with the battle group, just in case. Captain Jiho watched from the Phoenix as human medical teams boarded the Hope's Wing. The Relathi colony ship was a mess. Hull breaches on 3 decks, life support failing, families huddled in the few safe sections, terrified and exhausted. The human doctors moved through the ship like a well-oiled machine. They set up temporary life support. They treated the wounded. They gave food and water to the children. One human nurse, an older woman with gray hair, sat with a group of young Rilathi and told them stories until they stopped crying. Jiho received a message that the Rilathi elder wanted to meet him. He took a shuttle over to the Hope's wing with his crew. They had to wear environmental suits because parts of the ship had no atmosphere. Elder Chirrick was waiting in what remained of the colony ship's main hall. He was old. His feathers gray and white, his eyes tired. But when he saw Jiho, those eyes filled with tears. "You came," the elder said in common tongue, his voice shaking. "You heard our call and you came." Jiho felt awkward. He wasn't good with emotional moments. "We were in the area. It seemed like the right thing to do." The elder made a sound that might have been a laugh. "In the area. For 20 years I have been part of the Galactic Council. In that time, I have seen 17 distress calls from civilian ships in lawless space. Do you know how many times the Council sent help?" Jiho could guess. "None." "None," the elder confirmed. "They say it is too dangerous, too expensive, not their jurisdiction, always excuses." He reached out and grasped Jiho's hand with his wing claw. "You are human. Your species has been in the galaxy for only 23 years. We barely know you, and yet you risked everything to save us. Why?" Jiho thought about how to explain, how to put into words what felt so simple to him. "Because you needed help. Because there were children on your ship. Because—" He trailed off, then found the words. "Because that's what neighbors do." The elder's tears fell freely now. Around the room, other Rilathi were crying too. Jiho realized this wasn't just about being rescued. It was about not being alone, about someone caring whether they lived or died. "I am 215 years old," the elder said quietly. "I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched the council make peace and wage war, but I have never, in all my years, seen anyone do what you did today. You have given me hope that the galaxy can be better." Over the next few days, the Earth fleet repaired the Hope's wing enough to travel. They escorted the colony ship to its destination, a new planet in a safe system. The Rilathi wanted to name their first settlement after Jiho, but he convinced them to just call it New Hope instead. But while all this was happening, news of the battle spread across the galaxy. On the Council homeworld, in the great chamber where representatives from hundreds of species met, there was chaos. Ambassador Nari sat in the human delegation section, watching the other ambassadors argue. She was young, only 34, the youngest ambassador in Council history, but she was also the best legal mind Earth had ever produced. The Quillari representative, a crystalline being named Zeth, was speaking. His voice came through translators with a sharp, angry tone. "The humans violated council law. They deployed a military fleet in neutral space without authorization. This is an act of aggression." The Thros representative, speaking for her hive mind species, agreed. "The humans are dangerous. They respond to every situation with violence. Today it was pirates. Tomorrow it could be us." The Valorian representative, a large reptilian warrior named Crag, stood up. "The humans did what we should have done years ago. They protected innocent civilians. Where is the crime in that?" "The crime is in ignoring council procedure," Zeth insisted. "We have laws, rules. The humans think they can ignore them." Nari had heard enough. She stood up, her small human form dwarfed by the massive chamber, but her voice carried clearly. "I would like to present evidence to the council." The chamber fell quiet. The council speaker, an ancient being made of pure energy, gestured for her to continue. Nari activated a holographic display. It showed the Rilathi distress call, the desperate voice of Elder Chirrick begging for help. She let it play for a moment, then stopped it. "That was one call," she said. "Here are 17 more." One by one, she played distress calls from the past decade, civilian ships under attack, families begging for rescue, children crying for their parents. Each call went unanswered. Each one ended in tragedy. The chamber was silent now. Even Zeth had stopped talking. "You want to talk about laws?" Nari's voice was cold. "Let's talk about the law that says the Council will protect all sentient beings. The law that says no species will be abandoned, those are Council laws too. But I guess those ones don't count when it's inconvenient." She turned to face Zeth directly. "We didn't violate your laws. We violated your cowardice." The chamber erupted. Some species cheered, others shouted in anger. The council speaker had to call for order 3 times. In the end, the council was split. The Valorians proposed joint military exercises with human forces. They respected strength, and humans had proven strong. The Minthari, a species of merchant traders, offered lucrative contracts for human weapons. Nari politely declined. Earth didn't sell its military technology. But the Quillari and Thros were different. They left the chamber quickly, speaking quietly to each other. Nari watched them go and felt uneasy. Something was wrong. Her instinct was correct. On a secret station in deep space far from Council territory, 2 fleets were gathering. Quillari ships joined Thros vessels, hundreds of them. They met in the dark, away from sensors and spies. The plan was simple. Humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to grow stronger. They had to be contained, controlled, or eliminated. Back on Earth, in a classified military facility buried deep under the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Sora met with Hyun, the chief of fleet operations. He was an older man, gray-haired and serious, a veteran of humanity's darkest wars. "Show me the intelligence report," Sora said. Hyun pulled up holographic displays, images of Quillari and Thros ships, lots of them. "Our scouts found this 3 days ago. They're building a fleet, 300 warships and counting, all in secret." 300, Sora repeated. "That's the largest military force ever assembled in Council space." "It gets worse," Hyun said. "We analyzed their formation patterns and supply routes. They're not preparing to fight pirates. They're preparing to strike multiple targets simultaneously." "Our colonies." "Yes, and we think they plan to hit during the Galactic Peace Summit next month, when most of our leadership will be on Concordia." Sora felt cold anger settle in her stomach. "They're going to try to decapitate our command structure and attack our civilians at the same time." "That's our assessment." Sora looked at the images of the enemy fleet. 300 ships. Against Earth's full military might, that was a fair fight. Maybe even a losing fight for the Quillari and Thros. But if they struck during the summit, when Earth's best leaders were in one place. "Do we have proof they funded the pirate attacks?" Sora asked. Hyun nodded grimly. "Financial records we recovered from the Vex ships. Money trails leading back to Quillari accounts. They've been funding pirates for months. The attack on the Hope's Wing was supposed to be a massacre, a warning to humans to stay out of galactic affairs. Captain Jiho ruined their plan. He saved more than those Rilathi. He exposed the whole conspiracy." Sora stood up, pacing the room. "What are our options? We could strike first, take out their fleet before they launch, and prove we're everything they say we are. Aggressive, violent, dangerous. We could wait for them to attack, but that risks billions of lives." "Or we could expose them," Sora said. "Bring everything into the light." Hyun looked doubtful. "The Council won't want to believe it. 2 founding species conspiring to commit genocide? They'll say we're making it up. Then we make them believe it." Sora's eyes were hard. "Ambassador Nari is already at the Council. She's the best we have. If anyone can make them see the truth, it's her." "And if she can't?" Sora looked at the star map, at all the human colonies scattered across space, families, children, people who trusted Earth to keep them safe. Then we show the galaxy what happens when you threaten human civilians, she said quietly. We show them why we built the fleet we did, why we trained so hard, why we never, ever stop preparing. We show them what a cornered human looks like. 6 months passed since the Hope's Wing rescue. The galaxy had changed in that time, in ways both obvious and subtle. 47 species had requested protection agreements with the Earth Defense Fleet. Small species, weak species, ones who had been preyed upon for generations. Now they had someone willing to stand with them. Pirate attacks dropped by 73% across known space. The footage of the Vex fleet being destroyed had spread everywhere. Pirates weren't stupid. They knew what would happen if they targeted civilians now. But not everyone was happy about this change. In a secure facility on Earth, Intelligence Officer Yunji sat in front of multiple screens, reviewing intercepted communications. She'd been doing this for weeks now, tracking financial transactions, coded messages, ship movements, putting together a puzzle that nobody wanted to see. Now she had proof. She requested an emergency meeting with Admiral Sora and Ambassador Nari, who had returned to Earth for consultations. They met in a room that was swept daily for listening devices. Yunji didn't waste time. They're going to attack during the Peace Summit. I have confirmation. She pulled up images on the wall screen. The Quillari and Thros have built a secret fleet of 300 warships. They've been using shell companies and false flags to hide the construction, but I tracked the money. More images appeared. Financial records, supply manifests, communications between Quillari and Thros officials. They plan to strike on the 3rd day of the summit. They'll hit Earth's colonies simultaneously while assassinating our leadership on Concordia. They're calling it Operation Clean Slate. Nari felt sick. They want to wipe us out. Worse, Yunji continued. Look at this. She showed older records, dating back months. They've been funding the Vex Marauders and other pirate groups. Every attack on civilians in lawless space for the past year, they paid for it. Why? Sora asked. To justify human containment. Each pirate attack, they would go to the council and say, see, the galaxy is too dangerous. We need stronger controls, more regulations. They were building a case for limiting human expansion. The Hope's Wing was supposed to be destroyed, Nari realized. When Captain Jiho saved them, it ruined everything. Exactly. The Relathi were supposed to die as an example. Instead, they became a symbol of human heroism. The conspiracy started falling apart. Sora studied the evidence. This is solid. We could take this to the council. They won't believe us, Nari said. The Quillari and Thros are founding members. The council will think we're making it up to justify military expansion. Then we make them believe, Sora said. We go to the Peace Summit as planned. But we bring this evidence, and we bring something else. What? Yunji asked. The truth about what humanity can do when we're pushed. 2 weeks later, the Galactic Peace Summit began on Concordia, a beautiful garden world chosen specifically because it was neutral territory. Thousands of species sent representatives. It was supposed to be a celebration of cooperation. Ambassador Nari arrived with a small delegation. She smiled and shook hands and acted like nothing was wrong. But she carried a data chip with all of Yunji's evidence. On the 3rd day of the summit, during a session about trade agreements, Nari requested permission to address the assembly. The council speaker recognized her. Ambassador Nari of Earth, you may speak. Nari walked to the center of the great hall. Thousands of eyes watched her. She activated a holographic display. I want to show you something, she said. Images appeared. The Quillari Thros fleet, financial records, communications, everything. This is a conspiracy to commit genocide, Nari stated calmly. The Quillari and Thros have built a secret military fleet. They plan to use it to destroy human colonies and assassinate our leadership. And they've been funding pirate attacks to justify it. The hall erupted in chaos. The Quillari representative, Zeth, stood up. Lies! Human propaganda! Is it? Nari pulled up more evidence. Here are the money transfers. Here are the coded messages. Here are the construction records, all verified by independent sources. The Thros representative clicked her mandibles in agitation. Even if this were true, it would be justified. Humans are dangerous. You threaten the stability of the council. Because we save civilians? Nari's voice rose. Because we respond to distress calls? That makes us dangerous? Because you militarize everything, Zeth shot back. You build weapons, train soldiers, you prepare for war. We prepare to protect, Nari corrected. There's a difference. Tell that to the Vex fleet you destroyed. The Vex fleet that was enslaving children? Yes, we destroyed them, and we'd do it again. The argument raged back and forth. Other species took sides. The Valorians supported humanity. The Minthari tried to stay neutral. Dozens of smaller species who'd signed protection pacts with Earth stood with Nari. Finally, Zeth played his final card. Even if we were building a fleet which we're not admitting, humanity is too heavily armed. You claim to want peace, but your military grows every day. How can we trust you? Nari smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. You want to know about our military? Fine. Let me show you. She activated a live feed from the Sol system, from Earth's orbit. The holographic display filled with images of ships, dreadnoughts, cruisers, destroyers, hundreds of them, all floating in formation around Earth. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was the shipyards, massive orbital construction facilities, building new vessels, and the statistics that scrolled beside the images. 2 new dreadnoughts per month, 5 cruisers per month, 10 destroyers per month. The fleet was growing exponentially. The council chamber fell silent. Even Zeth had no words. Nari let them absorb it, then spoke. You wonder why we're so heavily armed? I'll tell you. Because we've survived 12 extinction-level events on our homeworld. Ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcano eruptions, pandemics, wars that killed billions. She paused, her voice dropping. We know what it's like to be helpless, to watch people die and be unable to stop it. We swore we would never be helpless again, never be unable to answer a call for help. She turned to face Zeth directly. You're right that we prepare for war, every day, every hour. We train our soldiers, we build our ships, we study tactics and strategy. Do you know why? To conquer, Zeth said weakly. To protect. Not just humans, everyone. Any species that calls for help. Any civilian ship under attack. Any colony threatened by pirates. We answer. Every single time. She activated another display. This one showed human ships responding to distress calls across the galaxy. Rescues, medical aid, disaster relief. In 6 months, Earth's fleet had responded to 93 separate emergencies. This is what we do with our military, Nari said. We save people, even people who hate us, even people who want us dead. She looked around the chamber. So yes, we're heavily armed. Because the galaxy needs someone who will actually help when civilians are dying. Someone who doesn't hide behind regulations and procedure while children are sold into slavery. The Valorian representative stood. The evidence is clear. The Quillari and Thros conspired to commit genocide. They funded pirate attacks. They built a secret fleet. This is a violation of every council law. Other species began to speak. The small ones, the weak ones, the ones who'd been ignored for centuries. They spoke about the times they'd called for help and nobody came. About the times pirates attacked and the council did nothing. But the humans came, one small ambassador said. They saved my colony from raiders. They asked for nothing in return. They protected our merchant ships, another added, for free. One by one, species stood and told their stories. Stories of human ships arriving when nobody else would. Of human doctors treating alien wounded. Of human soldiers standing between civilians and danger. The tide was turning. Nari could feel it. Then the ancient Eleth spoke. They rarely addressed the council, these energy beings who'd been in the galaxy for millions of years. When they spoke, everyone listened. "We have observed humanity since first contact," the Eleth said, their voice like wind through crystals. "We have seen thousands of species rise and fall. Most prioritize self-preservation above all else. Humanity is different. They are dangerous, yes, but not in the way you fear. They are dangerous because they care more about strangers than themselves, because they will sacrifice everything to protect people they've never met, because they cannot hear a cry for help without responding." The Eleth paused. "This is not weakness. This is the rarest form of strength. We offer humanity a place among the guardian species, ancient races who protect younger civilizations. We believe they have earned it." The chamber erupted again, but this time it was different. This time, it was hope. Nari stood in the center of it all and thought about Captain Jiho. About a merchant captain who'd risked everything because it was the right thing to do. About a crew who voted unanimously to help strangers. That was humanity. That was what they'd brought to the galaxy. And nobody would ever take it away. The Quillari Thros conspiracy collapsed within days of Nari's presentation. The evidence was too strong, verified by too many independent sources. Both species tried to deny it at first, but the truth was undeniable. The secret fleet was found exactly where Eunji said it would be. 300 warships, hidden in deep space, armed and ready for war. Valorian honor guards took control of the vessels peacefully. The crews surrendered without a fight once they realized the whole galaxy was watching. Zeth and the other conspirators were removed from their positions. They faced trial under council law. It would take years to sort out all the details, all the lies and deceptions. But the important part was done. The threat was over. The council passed new laws. The Concordia Accords, they called them. Every species had to maintain rapid response fleets for civilian emergencies. There would be mandatory protocols for distress calls. And piracy would face zero tolerance across all council space. It was everything humanity had been asking for. But there was more. The council officially recognized Earth's military buildup as defensive, not aggressive. Human ships would be allowed in any council space to respond to emergencies. And humanity accepted the Eleth's offer to become a guardian species. Captain Jiho watched all this from his ship, the Phoenix, which was being repaired in orbit around Earth. The battle damage from the Vex fight had been worse than they thought. It would take months to fix everything. He didn't mind. The crew needed rest anyway. Yuna was already planning modifications to the engine. "If we're going to keep running into trouble," she said, "we might as well be ready for it." Taeyang was upgrading the weapon systems. Officially, they were still a merchant vessel. Unofficially, they now had enough firepower to make a pirate think twice. Hana and Minho were working on better sensor arrays. They wanted to detect distress calls from farther away, to help more people. One morning, Jiho received a message marked Priority Fleet Command. He opened it, expecting new cargo assignments. Instead, it was a promotion. "Commodore Jiho," the message read, "Command of the 1st Joint Council Human Patrol Fleet. Report for duty in 30 days. He stared at the message for a long time. Then he called his crew together and told them. "You don't have to come," he said. "This is voluntary. The patrol fleet will be dangerous. Will be the first line of response for the entire sector." Yuna laughed. "Are you kidding? We started this. We're not stopping now." Taeyang nodded. "Besides, someone needs to keep you out of trouble, sir." Hana smiled. "Where you go, we go." Minho just pulled up a star chart. "I've already plotted our first patrol route." Jiho felt warmth in his chest. This crew, this family, they understood. The Phoenix was repaired and upgraded. She became the flagship of the new patrol fleet, joined by ships from a dozen species. Valorian honor guards, Minthari scouts, even a few Relathi volunteers, inspired by Elder Cherrick's experience. On their first day of patrol, they passed by the coordinates where the Hope's wing had been attacked. It was empty now, just quiet space. But Jiho thought about what had happened here. How one distress call had changed everything. Elder Cherrick had kept his promise. The new Relathi colony world was called Jiho's Hope. Thousands of Relathi lived there now, building their homes, raising their children. All because a merchant captain had decided to care. 3 years passed. The galaxy was different now. Pirate attacks were rare. When they did happen, response fleets arrived within hours. The old lawless zones were being patrolled by joint forces from multiple species. Commodore Jiho's fleet had responded to 247 distress calls in those 3 years. They'd saved colonies from disasters, rescued ships from system failures, protected civilians from the few remaining pirates who were stupid enough to try. Not a single call went unanswered. The crew of the Phoenix had grown. New faces joined them. A Valorian tactical officer who taught them honor codes. A Minthari engineer who showed Yuna new reactor designs. A young Relathi named Pip who worked communications with Hana. They were a family now, just a bigger one. One night, during a quiet patrol shift, Jiho stood in the observation deck looking at the stars. Nari had come to visit the fleet, checking on how the joint operations were working. She stood beside him, both of them watching the endless dark. "Do you ever regret it?" Nari asked, answering that first distress call. Jiho thought about it, about the battle, the fear, the moment when he thought they wouldn't make it. "No," he said, "we did the right thing." "It changed the galaxy." "Maybe. Or maybe we just reminded everyone what they'd forgotten, that we're supposed to take care of each other." Nari smiled. "The Council is different now. More species are joining the Guardian program. Everyone wants to be like humanity, brave, selfless, willing to help." "We're not special," Jiho said. "We just couldn't ignore people who needed help." "That's what makes you special." They stood in comfortable silence for a while. Then Hana's voice came over the intercom. "Commodore, we're receiving a distress signal. Unknown species. They say they're under attack by raiders, sending coordinates now." Jiho and Nari exchanged looks. Nari smiled. "Go. Do what you do best." Jiho headed to the bridge. His crew was already at their stations, alert and ready. Minho had the course plotted. Taiyang was running weapons diagnostics. Yuna was pushing the engines to maximum. They'd done this hundreds of times now, but it never got old, never became routine. "All ships," Jiho said to the patrol fleet, "prepare for combat jump. We have civilians in danger." The response came back immediately from a dozen vessels. Valorian ships powered their weapons. Minthari scouts moved into formation. Relathi medical ships prepared their aid stations. Everyone was ready. Everyone understood what mattered. "Course laid in," Minho reported. "All ships report ready," Hana added. Jiho looked at his crew, these people who'd become his family. Then he looked at the distress call coordinates on the screen. Somewhere out there, someone was scared. Someone was in danger, someone needed help, and they would answer, just like always. "Jump," he ordered. Space twisted. The patrol fleet vanished into hyperspace, racing toward people who needed them, because that's what they did. That's what humanity had taught the galaxy. You answer the call, every time, no matter what. Far away on dozens of worlds, species told their children stories. Stories about the fierce but kind humans who changed everything. About how the galaxy learned that strength without compassion was just tyranny. But strength in service of others? That was heroism. They told stories about a merchant captain named Jiho who heard a distress call and couldn't ignore it. About a crew that voted to help strangers. About a fleet that appeared from nowhere to save the innocent. They told stories about the day the galaxy learned what it meant to be a guardian. In the Relathi colony of Jiho's Hope, children played in the streets. They were safe, protected, free to grow up without fear because someone had cared enough to fight for them. Elder Chirik was old now, but he still told the story to every generation, about the humans who came when nobody else would, about the message that changed everything. "Remember," he would say to the young ones, "if you are ever in trouble, if you ever need help, you call out, because somewhere in the galaxy, someone is listening, someone cares, and they will come." The humans taught us that. They taught everyone. They taught us that nobody should ever be alone in the dark. On the bridge of the Phoenix, racing toward another emergency, another group of people in danger, Jiho felt the familiar focus settle over him. The fear was there too, like always, the uncertainty, the knowledge that they might not make it back. But none of that mattered compared to the call for help echoing through space. 5 minutes to arrival, Minho announced. "Weapons hot," Taeyang confirmed. "Medical teams standing by," Hana added. "Engines at maximum," Yuna reported. Jiho nodded, his crew, his family, ready to do what needed to be done. "Unknown vessel, this is Commodore Jiho of the Joint Patrol Fleet," he broadcast on all frequencies. "We received your distress call. Hold on. Help is coming." And across the galaxy, on 1,000 worlds in 100 languages, people heard those words and knew they were true. Help was always coming, because humanity had made a promise. Not just to themselves, but to everyone. No one gets left behind. The Phoenix dropped out of hyperspace with weapons ready, shields up, and a crew prepared to stand between civilians and harm. Just like they'd done hundreds of times before. Just like they'd do thousands of times more. Because that's what Guardians do. That's what humans do. They hear the call and they answer. Every single time. The end.